Welcome to Meet the World in Wood Buffalo. We're talking about cooking in different cultures, and today we have two eminent panelists, Tracy McKinnon. She is the chair of the Catholic School District, and she also is mainstream Canadian. Right, Tracy?
I am indeed.
And we have Kathleen Marcel, who represents the Okanagan Aboriginal community, and she's going to give you the details later. So welcome to our show today, both of you. So Kathleen, you are from the Aboriginal community of Okanagan region. Could you please explain your background a little bit?
Well, I'm born and raised in the Okanagan, which is, the Okanagan is sort of the territory from the border to Kamloops in British Columbia. And there, I'm very avid in my culture and do a lot of cooking. I make drums and rattles and a lot of things from each of the animals that are being killed, which is the hunters. They drop off the hides, and we do lots of things with our hides and make a lot of ceremonial items.
And what is the name of your the cultural group?
Well, I'm from the Similkameen Indian Band, which is the Lower Similkameen Indian Band. And my husband's a Cree from Big Stone Cree Nation in Wabasca, Alberta. And he lived in the Okanagan for the last over 20 years. And now I'm here to live in his home for 20 more years. And I love it here.
Welcome to our region. It's great to have a strong Aboriginal voice in this region, so I'm really happy that you're here. And let's move on to Tracy. So Tracy, Tracy is mainstream Canadian, but then there's a whole lot of layers to her background. So would you like to explain, Tracy?
I am Canadian, and I have with Irish, Scottish, English ancestry, and I was raised Ukrainian. So it gives you quite a different outlook on life. And a different take on food, for sure.
So what kind of animals were initially hunted? I mean, what were the most popular?
Well, I have to speak on the Okanagan's behalf because that's where I'm from, and I've only really been here for a bit, but my husband's taught me quite a bit in the last 15 years of the Alberta cooking also. But it was mostly deer that I was brought up on, was deer meat. So we had deer sausages, just about deer everything, and moose, elk, a lot of berries, and lots of salmon. In the Okanagan Valley, the salmon is delicious, and it's dried. My grandmother used to dry it and then pound it into powder and mix it with the berries and make a paste. And it would be roll it into little balls and put sugar on it, and it was so delicious. Oh. Yes, it was like a candy to us.
My mouth is watering. It's so exciting. Let me hear a little bit about, when your grandmom came from.
We would always have plenty of food. It was one thing that you were never shy of in our house was food. And families, we would always have more than one family. So families would come. And we'd all share, but it would take all day in the kitchen. And it was never a Christmas without pierogies, pedahe, or halapshi, which is your cabbage rolls. So they would have, before Christmas, you would have my aunts and some family members. We'd all get together in the kitchen. And the women would all get together for a day, and they'd be making pierogies enough to feed an army. And so that's what you would do to get ready for the holidays. So there was always beets. It's not a Christmas unless you have beets and pierogies and cabbage rolls. And so it's something that's carried on to this day. I don't feel like holidays are holidays if I don't have that. It's even on a separate day. It can be a separate day now, but it's not a holiday meal unless all three of those things are there. And with with Malenka coming up, and I think it's on the 16th, So it's from the 7th to the 19th is the holiday, the 12 days of Christmas. So so it starts on the 7th, and it's just something that as growing up you will always remember and always keep with you. Like I'd said to you earlier, you know you're Ukrainian when for no other reason you have the pierogies in your freezer. Normal people, I don't know necessarily keep that there, but we do. And so there's things that you just kind of take for granted as part of your heritage that everybody does until you realize that maybe not. So yeah, things like that.
Is there also a special type of cake or a baked product that you have as part of your tradition?
Well, my mother didn't make the traditional, you would have seen the circle, the braided bread in the middle of the table. That's actually it represents the Holy Trinity. That's why there's 3 pieces, they're braided like that. But my mother didn't do that. But the one thing that you will always have on every meal is some sort of bread.
Very interesting. Moving back to you, Kathleen, would you like to tell us some peculiar kind of things that you did, being from the Aboriginal culture?
We have a Indian ice cream, but it's not really ice cream. It's made of the soap berries, and we get them in the fall and keep them, and then we'd have our Indian ice cream. And my husband doesn't quite like it. It's a bit bitter, but I love it. I've always loved it. And
how do you make it?
It's out of the little soap berries, and my grandma used to make it. I'm not sure because she never really showed us how to do it. So that's something I didn't learn. But I have some soap berries, so someday maybe I'll make some Indian ice cream, figure out how to make it.
So is Bannock something that's also a tradition that you have?
Yeah, Bannock came along with the Métis.
Okay.
Yeah. There wasn't much of a breads or flour in our Indigenous life. We would grow corn, and we would pound corn into flour, and then make a cake of some sort out of that back in the day. Since the Europeans came, a lot of things have changed, with the trapping and the Métis coming. It changed a lot of the diets. There was never any dairy or no cattle. It was mostly wild meats and the buffalo. I thought back a little bit, I thought about doing this show, and I was sitting and talking to an elder just a few weeks ago, and he was telling me a story, and I thought I'd share it with you because I thought that was really interesting. Is when you killed your deer, if there was someone in the tribe that was ailing something of their heart, well, you would cook the heart and feed him part of that heart to heal the heart. Same thing with the liver. And if you had problems with the liver, you would eat that liver. And what part of that animal, the Creator or God or Mother Earth itself, provides everything we need right there. And so when the Europeans came, they brought a lot of things that weren't indigenous to us, which was dairy and pork. So a lot of the indigenous people that I know don't eat pork because it isn't from our land. It was brought over from the Europeans.
Tracy, going back to you, so what are the kinds of things that you think stayed with you and is going now to your children?
Well, it's surprising that you would say that because there's certain things that I know that my son rather enjoys that I know that he wouldn't have otherwise. And the way he eats his pierogies or things that how I grew up, how I make them, and I tried to get him to eat beets. I've tried many different ways, and he just won't do it. But it's a part of who I am, and things because I was never patient enough to learn how to make cabbage rolls. They're very time consuming. And there's many different ways to do them, and I only liked one kind, so I never bothered to learn all the other ones, because why would I learn when I only liked one kind? So what I've done in order to keep that is learn how to make something called lazy halapshi, and that's a way to make cabbage rolls without having to do the rolling. And I've made it for, all the time for his school and for multicultural days, and I always bring it. So it's always something that's around. At first, it's an acquired taste. I'll give you that. At first, he didn't like it as much, but he likes it now. So I think that just comes with, now he will know that and he will carry that forward. And but I've had lots of times where people have asked me for the recipe. I can't tell you. I couldn't write it down if I tried. It's just something that I was taught, something that just kind of happens. And they ask for measurements, and Ukrainian women don't cook with measurements a lot. And you just, you know that's enough of this and enough of that. And
then you taste it.
No, I don't get it. I actually don't even bother till I get to the end, because I know. But things like that, that I'm glad that he has a chance to learn and to love with food. It has been challenging at times, of course, but now even he says, when's Ukrainian night?
Wow.
Right. So, and the other part is, I'll tell you a story because I think it's kind of interesting how other people view your culture. I went in to buy kubasa, or garlic, the sausage coil, from a vendor, and he said, well, I have many kinds. We have garlic, and I said, oh, I'm Ukrainian. He goes, oh, garlic it is. And so they automatically know that if you're Ukrainian, you have garlic sausage. It's just,
I love garlic sausage.
Yes, and so you would grow up with that smell in the morning, because you'd have that with the eggs and things like that. So those smells remind me of growing up and remind me of home. And now when my son comes home, they remind him of home and family.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
Do you have something that your kids are taken away from your cooking style, or something that?
Well, they love my bannock, and yet, we learned bannock right away. Everybody makes bannock, and when we go to our ceremonial sweat lodge, we always take bannock. And as soon as you make bannock, everybody says, you got some bannock? We're coming over. And my grand says, save some for me. And it's the same thing as you said. There's no way we use a measuring cup. You just make it to the consistency it's supposed to be. You feel it in your hands when you have the dough, and it's just that consistency, right? Mine isn't as good as my husband's. He makes the best bannock. Wow.
Oh, I should get some from him.
I can't do it like his, but everyone's different, right? Because
And is there a particular type of meat that your kids love, and you think that they will, take on?
Everybody loves moose meat. They fight over moose meat. When you got moose steaks, we're coming over, because they are a leaner meat than beef, so you don't find a lot of fat, or it is better for you, really, because there is less cholesterol and less fat, and so the moose meat is very delicious, especially the hamburger. Oh, when you make a spaghetti or chili or something with moose hamburger, it's delicious.
Yeah, I'm very glad to hear that. We actually went through the whole spiel, so I'm really, really glad to say that, I'm really glad to have you both here, and to be able to walk through the whole history of, how culture evolved in your family and in yours. And thank you so much for watching Meet the World in Wood Buffalo, and we'll see you again next time on Channel 10. Thank you.